everyone, good morning. Thank you for joining me today. Today, I am honored to be here to be sharing with everyone here on continuous writing. Before we start, I am Teacher Faith Bahtiar from SMK Tengku Pangklima Perang Tengku Muhammad, Kuantan, Pahang. For this session, I would like to share on continuous writing. As you have known before this, your teachers might have told you so many times before, your SPM English 1119 will have 3 papers. 3? Okay, now let me explain. The first paper would be your writing, which is continuous writing, and before that, the first section would be on directed writing. Then you have your paper 2, which is a combination of multiple choice question where you have questions and options. There you can try to guess your answer if you are clueless or if you are stuck in the middle. Okay, then you have information transfer. Just like the name, you only transfer specific information, and after that you have reading comprehension plus your summary and your literature part. Okay, now we go to paper 3. Paper 3 is actually your oral assessment. You have done that, right? So paper 3 is over. Now you can breathe a little bit and focus on only the 2 papers. Okay, continuous writing. Continuous writing is in paper 1, section B. You have 5 options, meaning that you will be given 5 different questions, but you choose only one. Okay, it is such a relief, right? You don't have to write on all the 5, but choose only one and you will be given 50 marks if your writing is top notch. If your writing or your essay very excellent, 50 marks is actually a huge contribution to your English 1119 papers. Okay, marking for continuous writing will be graded on band. For band A, which is the highest band, the range of mark is between 44 to 50 marks. So your examiner will be looking at all this topic or all this section. First, vocabulary and spelling. Okay, I know that you are very good in vocabulary and spelling, but please make sure you spell it properly. Okay, no influence of texting or IG captions or Twitter in your spelling. Okay, and you must make sure your capital letters and your small letters are all accurate. For example, I should be written in I capital letter, not I with the dot. Even though that might sound very small and trivial, but many of you really do not make it a huge effort to write properly. Okay, the next would be on sentence structures. You should be able to write a variety of sentence structures, short one and also longer sentences, in order to make your essay better and more interesting. Number 3 would be your punctuation. What is actually punctuation? Okay, this is all your full stop, your comma, your semicolon, all the simple marks you make on your paper when you are writing. Those are all punctuation. Okay, even though sometimes they may look very small, but actually all those marks will help to make your sentences or your essay better, and you will be able to convey what you are trying to say to your reader or your audience. Number 4 would be paragraphing. You have to organize, you have to arrange, you have to write your content in a proper paragraph so that it is easier to read, it has a nice flow, it is interesting, and it will help you to get more marks. Number 5 is your subject matter. You must know what you are writing on. For example, if the question requires you to write on online games, so for those who are playing Mobile Legends or PUBG or Among Us, you should be able to explain, to elaborate, and to use your example to your fullest so that you get to capture the attention of your examiner and your reader. And of course, the last but not least would be interest value. You must make sure your essay is interesting. Okay? Don't make me or your examiner yawn like that. That would be a very clear sign that your essay is boring and monotonous and not interesting. In fact, to be able to capture the interest of your examiner or your reader and to sustain it from paragraph 1 to the last sentence is a very powerful skill. Okay, not only here for exam but also for real life situation. Remember, I always stress to my students that English is not only for exam. You do not learn the language, English or BM or Arabic or any other language just for exam purposes. You must know that whatever you are learning in school should be able to make you a better and useful individual outside in the society. Okay, so that will be our aim. We want to contribute to the society, right? Okay, so let us recap on last year. Okay, even though now is 2021, but you will sit for SPM 2020, and this is your past year exam question, SPM 2019. For section B, as I told you earlier, you have 5 questions. The first one, if you had the chance to be someone else, who you choose to be? Explain what would be good about being that person and what might be difficult. Now, you get to be anyone you want. Okay? Celebrity, hero, artist, I don't know, maybe your parents, your mom or your dad who has influenced you the most, or your interesting friend, okay, or your K-pop idol. You think about that. Number 2, modern inventions have made our life much too complicated. Things used to be a lot simpler in the past. How far do you agree? Explain why. So this one, you have the setting, which is you need to talk about modern invention and how all those inventions are making our life much too complicated. Think of one, maybe your smartphone, maybe your tablet, okay, whatever you have at home, okay? Because in the past, those are not yet exist, so it is simpler. And do you agree? Can you not agree to this? Of course you can, but remember to explain why. Number 3, write a story about two people who had an argument because one of them had lost a mobile phone, and your story with, and they both realized how foolish they had been. So this should be easy because you are writing a story. A story is actually something very popular. Many students love to write stories, okay? But here you cannot simply write any story that you like. You should write about two people. What about that two people? That two people had an argument, fighting, because someone lost a mobile phone. And remember to also end with the given ending. Okay, now we go to number 4. Which do you think is more important? Money or health? So you compare the two and decide if one is more important than the other. Which one do you think is more important? Money or your health? The fact that you are healthy and you can move around, you can do things, you can smile, you can enjoy life. Okay, it's up to you. But remember, again, you have to give us your reason. We simply cannot believe you if you merely stating money is important or health is important. Okay? And the last one, number 5, write about the day you first met your best friend. Do you have 1 or 2 or 3 or 11? Up to you. Describe where you were and how you began talking to each other. Explain how your friendship has developed since that time. This one is clearly a descriptive essay where you need to describe on where and how you met your best friend, and then you describe how the friendship is developing. Okay, so this is last year's. Do you think if you were to have all these questions, you can choose one and score that 50 marks that I told you earlier? Of course you can. So based on the previous slides of all the 5 questions on your last year SPM, generally I would say that the question can be grouped into fiction and non-fiction. Okay, for example, fiction is your story, your narrative, your recount. Here you can have events to describe the flow of your story. And for non-fiction, you can have descriptive, you can have reflective, and you can also have an argumentative essay. So basically, these are all the types of essays. However, do not be rigid and strict to say that only one type can be used for one essay. No. Nowadays, okay, the latest 5 years, the trend is SPM questions would have a mixture of everything. Let us recap. See this one. The first question, you can describe, and you can also include some reflective element in your essay here. Number 2, you must also describe a little bit of descriptions, and you also have to argue. So this is also a combination of argumentative essay. Okay, and I give you a tip. Maybe you can use a little bit of stories for your introduction to make it less monotonous and straightforward and dry. It is like spices. Okay, when you cook, you must add in some spices to make your dishes better. Okay, you cannot simply rely on the basic ingredient like fish and vegetable. You need to have your sugar, your salt, your pepper, and all the different types of spices. Okay, the same goes with your essays. And number 3 is a clear-cut story, which is fiction. But to write a good story, to write a good narrative of fiction, you must use some descriptions or descriptive element so that your reader or your examiner will be able to create mental images when they read your essay. Okay, when that is very clear, the reader, the examiner can relate to your story better, thus giving you better chances for a higher band and better marks. Number 4, again, argumentative, because you need to compare your money and your health. And also, you must have your reflective element, because you need to think and express your opinion, and also you describe what can money or health do to you. Okay, those will go in your reasons. And obviously number 5, even though this is a descriptive instruction, but you can also inject some narrative element and write it in a form of a story to make your essay, your composition better and more interesting. Clear on that? Okay. Before you start writing, now you imagine yourself February 2021, SPM exam hall. Your index number is there, ready, and the question paper is right in front of you. Pen and pencil, eraser, ruler, whatever you need, all around you, handy. Before you start writing, obviously read all the question properly. Okay, don't be too excited or too eager to start writing straight away. No, you read first. When you read properly, you will be able to choose which one that will showcase your talent, that will tell the examiner you are very fluent, and where you can share all the details and knowledge that you have. There are only 5 options, so I don't think you need 3 or 4 hours for your reading. Okay, but do read it properly. Number 2, choose the one you are most comfortable with. Okay, This is very crucial, very important, because if you chose the right one, you will get very comfortable with your writing. You can write very smoothly. You can make sure your essay is the best, and thus giving you more chances to score band A. Okay, your teachers always tell you, right? Always aim for the star, so that you aim high and you want no less than A plus. Do you want A plus? Do you want A plus? Of course, you must want A plus. Okay. Next, mind map your ideas or plot, or you can start outlining whatever you want to write. If you choose a factual one, the non-fiction essay, you can try to jot down and mind map your ideas, so that when you are writing, you can refer to your draft and make sure you include everything in. Okay, and if you are writing a story, you can also draft, mind map and outline your plot, your storyline, so that you have a guide whenever you are writing. Okay, so you will not get lost or stuck in the middle. And of course, do think of time management. For section B, continuous writing, you have more or less 1 hour to do everything. Okay, so you manage your time properly. Do not focus on your mind map for half an hour, because that will be too much, because you will not have time to write your proper essay. Okay, or worse, do not spend the first half hour sleeping. No, don't sleep. Okay, if you want to sleep after SPM, you can sleep. Now this is not the time for you to be sleeping. You have to manage your time properly. Okay, based on my experience before this excuse me, there are students who claim or confess they made a mistake of falling asleep, and in the end did not have enough time to write properly. Please don't do that. Okay, make sure you slap yourself so that you won't fall asleep. Okay, so this is the general outline of an essay. This would be true for both fictions and non-fictions. Basically, you need to have an introduction. Introduction is like a door. Okay, you want to go inside a room or a building, you need to go through a door. So introduction is your door, and then the content would be whatever inside the room or the building. The content is the paragraph in your essay, be it for fiction or non-fiction, and it can be, the numbers can be up to you. Okay, it depends on what you are writing. For example, if you are writing on the modern invention before this, maybe you have 5 content points, so the content would be 5 different paragraphs of content points. Okay, and then you have your closure or your concluding paragraph. You cannot leave your essay hanging just like that, because that is not how things work. For example, if you open a door, you need to shut it, okay, on your way out or on your way in. Do not leave it open just like that. Things can get in. I don't know, animals or bad people or flood water. Okay, so you must have your closure. Okay, for this continuous section, I would go to non-fiction first. So what is a non-fiction? It is a reflective or argumentative or descriptive essay. Okay? The essay should clarify or explain the subject of the question. Students should have enough knowledge or details on the topic. For example, if you are required to write about online games, you should know online games properly. Or better still, you should be playing some. Maybe Candy Crush. Do you play Candy Crush? Maybe Mobile Legend. Maybe Among Us. Maybe you have an experience of being an imposter, right? Maybe you have the experience of winner chicken dinner, right? Okay, you should have enough knowledge. You should have enough detail and facts if you want to write a non-fiction essay, because we do not want sweeping statement in the essay. Okay, and for essays like this, please use present tenses. If you are using present tenses, you must remember to mind your SVA. What is that? Your subject verb agreement. Subject and verb should agree. What happens if they do not agree? They will fight, of course, and you do not want any fighting. Okay, so this is what we are going to try today. Online shopping has more benefits. Do you agree? Explain your reasons. Are you familiar with the online shopping? The subject, the idea and the concept of online shopping? Have you been shopping online? On Shopee or Lazada, or in fact from IG or Facebook? So you should come to a stand whether you agree or you disagree, and you must explain your reason. Okay, see? Maybe for your draft, for your mind mapping, you can have pros and cons, but you have to state your stand, because the question asks you, do you agree? So you must tell the examiner, you must tell people who are reading whether you agree with that online shopping has more benefit, or no, I don't think so, you don't agree. Okay? So this is the general guideline on the outline of your essay. As I said earlier, introduction. So introduction is a paragraph where you have to include your thesis statement. Thesis statement is what you want your reader, your examiner, to prepare themselves what they are going to read later on in your essay. Then you have content paragraph. No specific numbers for content paragraphs. It is up to you. How many content do you have? How many input do you want to share with your readers? How many ideas you want to write? But in your content paragraph, you need to have topic sentence. Okay, this is the statement of your content. You need to elaborate. Your elaboration should explain more on your content, and you have to give example. Example here can be closely related to real life situation, and if possible, you relate it to the current situation. For example, now, the current issue would be obviously the pandemic of COVID-19. Even though now it is already 2021, we still have to face the COVID-19 situation, and these few days in Kuantan, in Pahang, we are facing another disaster, which is the flood. Okay, many areas here in Pahang are affected, and please pray for them so that everything will be better soon, and help is going out to them so that they are helped and they will survive. Okay, and obviously when you want to stop writing, write your concluding paragraph in your closure. Clear on that? Can we move on? Okay, so this is how I draft or outline my content points. So listing keywords for content points can help you to try to elaborate on your content. So I found this very interesting shape, and I was like, why not use it for my map? So the first content would be convenient. Okay, another one would be cheap, and the last one is choices. Because I love rhythm so much, I purposely look for words that rhymes: convenient, cheap, and choices. So you have all your 3 C's there for your content. Remember, what are we writing now? We are writing on the online shopping. Okay? Okay, this is the introduction that I has prepared, because our question was on online shopping, and it was very straightforward and dry and factual. So why not use a little bit of contrast for your introduction, so that your essay or your composition would not be monotonous, or in a simpler word, boring. Okay, so if you want to do that, you can use anecdote. What is anecdote? Anecdote is simply a short situation or story or recount that you use for something like this. Okay, you don't have to write the whole story here, only a simpler short version of it. Okay, let's have a look. Last Saturday, I saw a stack of boxes in the living room. I asked my mom about it, and she said that it was my sister's. Apparently, she ran an online business for her tuition fee. By the amount of boxes I saw, I can say that people love to shop online nowadays. Based on this kind of popularity, online shopping has indeed numerous benefits. Okay, remember I told you earlier to use present tenses, but why here I write in past tenses? Because this is only a small version of anecdote to create an introduction to our essay. So that is why it is in past tenses. The last line, the line in red, online shopping has indeed numerous benefits. That would be your thesis statement, telling the reader, telling your examiner that yes, I agree, online shopping has benefits. Clear on that? You can also use other techniques for introduction. This is only my suggestions so that you can make your essay, your factual essay, excuse me, more lively and less boring, I hope. Okay, So you go to the first paragraph, your first content. Firstly, why did I use the red color for that word? That is your linker. You can use all types of linkers to connect all your paragraph to make sure it flows nicely. So this is the very simple, very basic linker. Firstly, online shopping is convenient not only to buyers but also to sellers. So now you are telling people, your reader and your examiner, that your first content point would be convenient. Okay, this is the first benefits of your online shopping. After telling it to the reader, you need to elaborate. You need to explain more. Why is it convenient? Buyers can buy things online from the comfort of their home. See, that is very convenient, right? You stay at home and you still can shop. It is very easy. See, I use a semicolon there. You don't have to get dressed, put on makeup, and go out to a shopping mall just to get something you need. So that semicolon here, that semicolon in the sentence is a signal that after that, the part after the semicolon would be examples that would be related to the easy, okay, to the concept of easy. Trouble free too, as you do not need to travel and pay for parking. Not only that, you can shop online anytime. Again, I use another semicolon there. Whenever you are free or when a need arises. So those two elements would be referring to the anytime. Example of the time concept. On the other hand, so that would be another linker. When we focus on sellers, online shopping platforms can help them work from home. Because of the pandemic now, working from home is very, very popular and very common. Not only people who work in offices can work from home, but business operator can also work from home. There is no need for them to rent a store for their business practice. Thus, no additional worries to maintain the physical store. Practicality is a win-win situation for both parties. Okay, see the one I underlined? That is my concluding lines. Okay, I want to close the paragraph, this content point, with something that is of the same ideas as my content. The fact that it is convenient. So it's a practicality as well. And not only for you as buyers, but also for you as sellers. Both will have the benefits. Clear? Okay, so this is another content. This is content paragraph number 2. I use the linker next. Very common, simple, and yet you can use that to organize your content points. Next, imagine you are buying a dress for a special occasion. Would you buy the one with an expensive price tag or a cheaper one? Considering both are of the same brand and quality. Okay, here I want you to highlight on the hyphen, the small mark just like the minus symbol, and also on the question marks. Okay, those two are part of your punctuation. This one, for this paragraph, the topic sentence is not at the start of the paragraph. Here we try another technique where you can have a hypothesis so that you invite your reader, your examiner to think a bit and to put them in your point of view. Later, then you use your topic sentence, which the one that I have underlined. Online shopping is cheaper and more economical as there are so many business operators offering a range of reasonable price. So basically the key point would be my next C, cheaper. But I also use other synonym here to make it clearer, okay? Like economical, like reasonable. So those are all related or almost have the same meaning as cheap. Not only you can tell the examiner, yes, I know words, I know synonym, but it also makes your essay better, right? If you are an avid online shopper, any one of you an avid online shopper, you cannot stop shopping online, I bet there are many of you out there, okay? You can also collect loyalty points and discount vouchers to pay a lot less than conventional shopping. What is conventional shopping here? Conventional shopping is, for example, me or you, we go out to Mr. DIY store and buy things. That would be conventional shopping. Or we go to KCM or ECM to get whatever we need. That would be conventional shopping. Okay? This concept is like a contrast to your online shopping. Plus, you can also shop during sales to get more value for your money. This is very true, right? Remember the 11/11 sale, the 12/12 sales? Okay, not that I am an avid shopper, but I do know of all these situations. In addition, sellers get to operate on a minimum cost too. See, another use of semicolon. You know what? I learned this from Mr. Azrik Aiman. Minus rent, utility bills, and sales assistant. So you don't have to hire someone to look after your store, to work for you, to do all the cleaning and maintaining of the store. So less hassle, okay? Hence, it is more competitive to enjoy online shopping, meaning that this is very beneficial because you get more benefit and cheaper for you to be doing your shopping online. You clear on that? So, another content. My linker for this paragraph would be moreover. Online shopping offers unlimited choices for buyers. So this is straightforward content point. Underline because it is your topic sentence for this paragraph. Okay, your next C, which is choices. So after that, you have to elaborate. You have to explain more. Why do you say you have choices for online shopping? It is a heaven of options. So choices can also have another synonym, which is option. You can go anywhere in the world without leaving your own bedroom to look for the item of your desire. Buyers can easily hop from one virtual shop to another looking for what they want. They can choose from a wide range of selection for brand, color, design, and material. They can even go abroad for shopping if they want to. Okay, now because of this pandemic situation, traveling abroad is banned, so you cannot go to Liverpool to buy your Liverpool merchandise, but you can go online and get them from there. Okay, not only restricted to shopping applications, you know, here you can also include all the examples of shopping apps. The most famous one would be like Shopee and Lazada, and I believe you know more. Buyers also have the luxury to buy things from social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram. You can see now that people are promoting, people are selling, people are advertising on things they want to sell on Facebook and Instagram. Isn't that a paradise for shoppers? So here, another trick, you can also use question like this to close or to conclude your paragraph. Before, the questions is at the start where you want the reader to interact with your writing, but now the question is at the end, okay, to conclude your content paragraph. Okay. So, do you have more? If you remember correctly, okay, if I remember correctly, we have 3 content points, right? Just now, we have convenient, we have cheap, and the next C would be choices. You can have more if you have enough time, if you have enough material to write. Of course, you can have more, but don't forget, in your content paragraph, the topic sentence, the elaboration, and the example. Oh my goodness, excuse my typo. I must lost the ability to count now, because after one is another one. Okay, ignore that. English teachers usually are bad at maths. And finally, if you have enough, you do not have any more content points to write or to share, you can write your concluding paragraph. So this is my closure, to wrap up. To wrap up is my linker for concluding paragraph. You can have in a nutshell, you can have in conclusion, you can have finally. Okay, there are a variety of options for your closure, for your linkers for closure, but I choose to wrap up here. Okay, online shopping certainly has its pros and cons. Pros and cons meaning that you have the good and the bad, you have advantages and disadvantages, you get the plus point or the minus point, 2 sides of everything. However, based on the discussion above, so all the content points that we have discussed before this, it is mostly a good thing with numerous benefits. So I underline that to show I am restating my stand. Remember, the question asks you, do you agree? So there you have to state whether you agree or you disagree. So now I am telling the reader or the examiner one more time, I agree that online shopping mostly a good thing with numerous benefits. Okay, not all good, but more benefits. Okay, because almost always the negative effects are caused by irresponsible people who are waiting to make easy money from unsuspecting individuals. Just be extra careful and exercise proper precautions before going on your shopping spree. So not only you restate your stand, you also include a little bit of advice here. You advise them to be extra careful. You advise them to exercise proper precautions, okay, so that you will not be a victim of frauds or whatever online scam there are out there to get to you. Okay, clear? Okay, now remember, even though we are talking before this on online shopping and its benefit, but you can take note of the vocabulary, okay, of the term used. You can take note of the sentence structure, okay, how you can use different types of sentences if you are writing on any related topics after this, be it for exam or for personal purposes, for interview, for other things, for your work or whatever. So here are some of the related topics that can be associated with online shopping. Okay, to list a few, you can write almost the same on the benefits of internet, e-book, social networking, online learning, online games, virtual library, and also online communication. Basically, anything that involves being online, anything that are related on internet and being in the cyberspace or the visual world outside. Okay, so it is not only restricted to online shopping. You can also use the same item for all these topics as well. Okay, so next we have fiction. Online shopping is your non-fiction. Okay, before we start, thank you Raisha. To wrap up is synonym with in conclusion. Yes, it is actually the linker that can be also used with in conclusion. To wrap up, in conclusion, in a nutshell. Okay, so all that can be used to start your concluding paragraph. Okay, thank you very much for asking. Now I know I'm not talking alone and there are people out there watching me. Okay, and I get so nervous now because there are people out there watching me. Okay, fiction. We get back to our slides. Before this, the online shopping is the non-fiction. Now we go to fiction. So what is fiction actually? Series of events happening to the main character or characters. If you have more than one character, or simply put, a plot, and then you have characters and setting, and I must advise you to use past tenses for your story. Fiction, story, narrative, those are all the same. Okay, you can also use present tenses, because if you notice out there, some of the storybook, the author is using present tenses. Okay, fine. But why did I suggest the past tenses? First, I want to eliminate the risk of SVA. As I said earlier, subject-verb agreement. Because in past tenses, SVA is not an issue. And then, past tenses are also used because things should happen first before you can retell. So basically, it's in the past. So use past tenses, right? As easy as that. Okay, so we recap our earlier SPM 2019. There are 2 questions that can be written as a story. The third one, write a story. The phrase write a story is a clear-cut instruction that you should write a story. Write a story about 2 people who had an argument. So you cannot simply write any story that you fancy, but your character should be person 1, person 2. 2 people. And what about these 2 people? So these 2 people had an argument. These 2 people fought, okay, because one of them had lost a mobile phone. And don't forget, you should use the ending given. And they both realized how foolish they had been. So, if you want to make it easier for you to remember, because sometimes you are so excited in writing, you write and you write and you write, you are now writing and using your 4th piece of paper, you forget that there are some requirements that you have to address. First requirement, 2 characters, 2 people. The second requirement, you need to have an argument. The third requirement, that argument should be about losing a mobile phone. And the final requirement, the ending. You should use the ending given. Okay? The start, the middle can be anything. Can be your idea. Can be whatever you fancy. But the ending should be, and they both realize how foolish they had been. Number 5, write about the day you first met your best friend. Describe where you were and how you began talking to each other. Explain how your friendship has developed since that time. Even though here, this is actually a combination of several types, you need to write on descriptions, okay, descriptive element, where and how. You also need some reflective element, okay, how the friendship developed. But you can also write this as a story, because usually stories are more interesting, okay. Of course, you would rather read some fiction, some narrative about events, rather than a very dry, monotonous article about something serious, right? So, this could be your chance to showcase your talent, to show the examiner that you are a very fluent storyteller, and your essay, your story, your composition is good from the first word to the last full stop, okay, making the examiner or the reader sitting at the edge of their chair because it is so exciting, okay. Okay, last year, see, the LPM, the people setting the question, they love stories. In 2018, you need to write a story about a teenager. So requirement first, story. Next, a teenager. Okay, not old people, not children, but teenagers like you and me. Okay, I'm not a teenager. Who had an unusual hobby. So the third one would be hobby, but not a simple hobby, common hobby like reading books, swimming, collecting stamps. Do you still collect stamps? Anyone out there collecting stamps now? I bet some of you have no idea what stamps are. Okay, so those hobbies are all very common. This one should be unusual, peculiar, something different, something not familiar. Okay, explain what was the hobby and how the teenagers' friends became interested in it. And then the next requirement with the explanation about the hobby. So this one is the descriptive part. You explain about the hobby, you describe, and also the reflective one, how your friend or the teenager's friend now involved in the hobby as well, became interested. Okay, so you need the specific character, you need specific plot, you need moral lesson, you need all the subject that is related to the question. Okay, now we look at 2017. 2017, actually there were 2 questions that can be written as stories. Write a story in which you had to keep a friend's secret. This is very scandalous. In your story, give details of the secret and explain why it was important to keep the secret. Okay, not only you're writing about your friend, but your friend, he or she had secret. When you look at the word secret, it has the connotations of, or it suggests that something is forbidden, something is not quite common, something that maybe people will have certain prejudices or perceptions toward that thing. And why is it important to keep the secret? So this is the moral lesson. Okay, why you have to keep the secret? This must be very scandalous. Okay, or you can write on the second one. This is also from 2017. Write a story of a small town girl who worked hard. So now you know your character should be a small town girl. Small town like, is Kuantan a small town? Is Kuala Lumpur a small town? I don't know. You must know what is the definition of a small town. Okay? Who work hard to become a successful chef. Okay, not any other jobs but a chef. Okay, not a firefighter, not a teacher, a business woman, but a chef. Begin your story with, she had used the last of her savings to get to the cooking competition in the big city and... Okay, remember this is the contrast. That girl from a small town. Now, she wanted to go to the big city. So contrast there. And you need to address on the shelf. Okay, not any other job options. Okay, and you need to start with the girl using her last of her saving. All the money she had collected over the years, all gone because she wanted to go to the cooking competition in the big city. Okay, and from 2016, your story is write about your experience helping Puan Ramla. So now you have your character, the first character, which is Puan Ramla. Who is Puan Ramla? She is an elderly lady who lives alone. Okay, Puan Ramla is not a celebrity. Puan Ramla is not a politician. Puan Ramla is not a successful chef, but she's old, an elderly lady, and she lives alone. Poor Puan Ramla. She must be very lonely, right? End your story with, I learned a lot about myself by helping Puan Ramla. So you must know, because of the ending, you know that this story should have a moral lesson because you learn a lot. Okay, you help Puan Ramla. You are very good because you are a helpful person. You are kind. You are considerate. And you learn. You reflect on the situation after your kind action. Okay. Now we go to the year before that, 2015. Write a story about someone you know who took a big risk and had a good result. Begin your story with, everybody said that the plan would never work. It was far too risky. So here your character is a determined person because he or she took a big risk, but that big risk had a good result. So you have to elaborate, you have to describe, you have to work on the big risk and also the result. And don't forget to use the introduction given. Everybody said that the plan would never work. It was far too risky. Okay, we should not go too far back because it is all in the past. The last year I want to share with you would be 2014. Write a story about a fisherman beginning with the wind blew strongly out at sea. This would be very accurate now, right? Because now these past few days we have strong winds, we have heavy rains, we have floods, and anyone without the experience or background knowledge cannot write about fishermen, but you can imagine based on your maybe reading or maybe watching movies on a fisherman. Okay? So whenever you are writing or whenever you want to attempt your story question, make sure you address all the requirements stated in the question. Okay? Any specific character or plot or moral lesson that you should write. Are you clear on that? Crystal clear. Okay, so this is a recap of narrative plot structure. Many of you, I believe, would be very familiar with the narrative plot structure. Okay, so what is plot? The sequence of events that take place in a story. In a story, you should have many events, many things happening. First stage would be the introduction, where information that the writer gives you at the start of the story. You start your story here. Okay? And then you build up your events in the rising action, event in the rising action that draws you in as the reader. Okay, you are the reader, but you are now involved in the story, okay, because you are reading or you are experiencing with all the event in the rising action. Then the peak or the highest point would be the most exciting or suspenseful part of the story. So this is where it is between life or death. This is between win or lose. This is between maybe some extreme contrast. Okay, the climax. And then after the climax, not far, falling action, and you go to resolution. Falling action is the continuing action after the climax has been resolved, and the conclusion obviously is the concluding paragraph, the closure of your story. How does this part of the story make you feel? Okay, so here are all the elements in your story, in your fiction. Of course, you need to have character or characters. It doesn't matter. Maybe you want to have only one character, one person in your story. It is up to you because you are the storyteller. Okay? But your main character should be the focus, the center of your attention, and your main character must develop. For example, if the start of the story, your main character is very good, very docile, very obedient, but as he or she goes through the story, the event, the plot, he or she becomes very bad and evil and nasty. Okay? It can be that way because not all things travel from bad to good. Sometimes there are things or people who become bad even though at first they are good. Okay, life is such. You can have both extreme. Okay, now not only the main, you can have the minor character or characters. This is optional. If you want to have one single character in your story, it is up to you. Okay, it depends on what you are writing. It depends on your style. Okay, for example, let's say you remember your Captain Nobody, your literature novel that you should be doing for your literature component. So in the story, the main character would be, you remember his name? Obviously, Captain Nobody or Newt or Newton Newman. And he also have all his friends, all his family members, all the people around him supporting the story, and they are all the minor characters. Okay, so those are an example for main and minor characters. Next, you should have setting. Setting here can be place or time, and you can use descriptive words to describe your setting. I have here some example of adjective to describe places. You can have alive, amazing. You can have beautiful and bright. You can have calm, maybe to use for scenery around a beach. You can use colorful or creepy or crowded or deserted. You can also use different, dry, enchanted, fresh, hot, incredible, interesting, magnificent, modern, fairy tale-like, mystical, ancient, majestic, impressive, special, dazzling, and evocative. So all these words are adjectives that you can write to describe your places. You can also describe the time setting. For example, maybe you are writing a story for that is set in the Paramiswara era. You know Paramiswara? I hope you know. Okay, so you use whatever adjective to create mental images about that time. Okay, maybe at that time, okay, not maybe, I believe strongly at that time we do not have KLCC, we do not have a very busy city like we have today, and there will be no cars, okay, and people and animals were roaming the streets, things like that, to set the time setting. Okay. Of course, you have flow of events, like we mentioned earlier before this, your plot structure, flow of event. Basically, the guideline would be introduction, climax, and powerful closure. Okay, you want to start writing your story now. So your story should start with a good intro now. So what is a good intro? A good intro catches reader's attention, creates enough interest that the reader will want to continue. Okay? A good intro introduces the reader to the narrator. The narrator can be you yourself or I, first point of view, or the narrator is the one who is telling the story about others. Okay, third person point of view. A good intro establishes the tone of the story and point of view. See, like I told you earlier, first person or third person point of view. A good intro introduces or leads into the conflict you plan on addressing your story. Here you get to create a teaser, okay, an alert, okay, or a hint, clue, what will happen in your story. And a good intro is short in length or not long enough. You shouldn't be writing on introduction for 3 pages. That would not be an intro anymore. Okay, should be of appropriate length, not too long. Okay, but not short as in 1 or 2 sentences. Oh, I don't know, maybe that is your style. Okay, here are some techniques to write introduction. Actually, there are so many techniques or so many ideas on how you can use for your introduction. I only choose the most familiar, common one for you today. First, you can have dialogue, you can have questions, you can have setting descriptions, you can have main character descriptions, and famous saying. Famous saying includes quote, proverbs, idioms, okay, or interesting expression. Let's look at the samples. Okay, so here are samples of introduction. Number 1, looks like it's going to be a fine day, son. Get the fishing rods ready. Dad shouted from the window. I was shocked of the loudness of his voice and happy at the same time. So what is this? This is actually dialogue. Okay, something is said by Dad or shouted by Dad to start your story. Number 2, What is the meaning of best friend? Do you have one or two? Okay, obviously here you have 1, 2 and 3 question marks. And question marks are meant for question. So you use question as the start of your story. Number 3, Hardin Scott. Do you know Hardin Scott? He is very handsome. Hardin Scott sat comfortably on the tree reading his favorite book of Love and Lesson by the famous author Nilofer. From the top, he could see the narrow road leading to the airport and Mirafilza's store at the corner on the left. Okay, what nonsense is this? This is actually number 3, setting description. You describe the setting. Okay. How do you describe the setting? See, this guy, Hardin Scott, was reading, but not reading on a chair. He chose to read on the tree. If you are reading on a tree, would you read on a tree next to a shopping complex? Would you read on a tree next to the traffic light of 4 intersection like Tanjung Lumpur? No, right? Usually when people read on a tree, that spot should be very calm, quiet and very peaceful. So this is a hint of the setting of the surrounding that is calm and peaceful and quiet. Okay, one clue. The next clue would be narrow road leading to the airport. So you know in the setting you have an airport, but not the airport like KLIA, not the airport like in Heathrow. Okay, and obviously not the airport like JFK in New York, because it is only a narrow road leading to that airport. So this could be somewhere very remote and rural, where you need to travel from one place to another using a plane, by air. Okay, but it is not busy at all. Another clue would be Mirafilza's store. Okay, sorry Mirafilza. Mirafilza has a store at a corner on the left. Not a shopping complex, not a huge Starbucks outlet, not McDonald's, but a store. So a store suggests that the setting or the surrounding is not busy enough for all the hectic or hustle and bustle of city life. Okay, so this is how you describe the setting. You can use all sort of things to create all these images in the mental of your reader. Not straightforward given. Okay. Number 4, I turned 17 last week. Okay, I'm not 17. My sister gave me a rollerblade for my birthday and I was thrilled. What is that? That is main character descriptions. You know the main character is young, only 17. You know the main character is thrilled when he or she was given a rollerblade. You know what is a rollerblade? Would a person who is not keen on extreme sport be very happy to be given a rollerblade? No, right? So you know this character, this I, is very active, okay, love extreme sport, very young, okay, energetic, and maybe full of life, because that person loved the rollerblade and that person is only 17. So this is the descriptions of your character. And number 5, nothing is impossible. So the saying goes. So the saying goes here, is a signal that nothing is impossible is actually a very famous saying or an expression. Kim Seon-ho believed this with all his heart. Do you know this guy? Do you know him? I bet many of you do know this one particular actor. His road to fame as the #1 actor was proof that nothing was impossible. So this is introduction, the 5th technique, which is famous saying. Now, you ready to write more? I hope so. Okay, when you have your introduction, and then after that you have series of events, and you must come to the climax, which is the drama, tension, or the conflict. What is that? This is actually a problem the character resolve, or a moment of tension he or she or it or they, it depends on your character, need to overcome. Okay, let's look at some samples. So this is an example. Are you familiar with the story of Cinderella? Please, I beg you, please say that you know the story. I cannot believe that some of you out there do not know the story of Cinderella. So the climax here, Cinderella held her breath as Prince Charming gently slipped the glass slipper onto her foot. Prince Charming took Cinderella by the hand and made her his bride. So actually this is the point of highest emotion or tension, the turning point. Why did I say that? Because this is the moment, the truth, whether the Prince Charming had met his lost princess, right? What can happen here? Of course, so many things can happen. For example, maybe the evil stepsister bang on the glass slipper, making it crash and broken and into pieces, so that Cinderella cannot prove that she was actually the princess who danced with the Prince Charming before this, right? That is possible. Or this is so tense because maybe the evil stepmother hit the Prince Charming on the head and kept him as a prisoner, right? And asking for ransom. You never know. That is why this is of highest emotion and tension. I'm using this example because I believe many of you have heard the story of Cinderella. If you don't, I advise you to Google after this, okay? And after your all events, okay, plus the climax, you will come to a powerful closure. So your closure, you can choose any of these. You can have moral lesson, you can have cliffhanger, you can have a twist, you can have reflection, and again you can also end with a dialogue. But if you start with a dialogue, I beg you not to end with a dialogue, okay? Some samples, okay? After all that had happened, Nisa promised to obey her parents. Okay, obey there is wrong. Ignore the ed, okay, typo there. Breaking rules and disobedience only made things worse. That summer, she turned over a new leaf and made her parents proud. So this is moral lesson. So Nisa here learned something, okay, a value that she has learned, and then she turns over a new leaf, okay. She's changed. The main character developed from bad to good, and now her parents were proud of her, okay. Or number 2, I held on to his hands, sobbing like crazy, pleading for him not to let go. I knew very well of the fate that we would endure. With a forceful tug, his hand escaped mine. What would happen to me now? Question again. What is this? Cliffhanger. What is a cliffhanger? A cliffhanger here meaning that it is not a clear cut what is happening to the main character. It is up to the reader to create an ending. Okay. Thank you, Paulinia Parise from Sabah. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this and you learn some new tips for your SPM or your students. Okay, back to my samples. Where were we? Okay, the cliffhanger. What happened to the main character? So the reader now has this freedom to think or to imagine or to create the ending, because it is not given straight away. It is not a clear-cut ending. So this I in number 2, in the sample of number 2, it is up to you. What happened to me now? Okay, cliffhanger. Many stories end like that. Many stories end like that now, so that readers will be involved in the story to create the ending that they want. Okay, number 3. I rushed to my car and saw Emily. It was a perfect day. I left my phone on the kitchen counter and my daughter was dead. Oh my goodness, death. So that was actually a twist. Why twist? Because it is stated there, a perfect day. Can death be perfect? Usually, and especially if it involves your daughter, your very close family members, you wouldn't think that death is something perfect. So it's a twist there to state that a perfect day and associated it with the death of the daughter. Okay. Number 4. I am always thanking the heaven for giving my brother such an extraordinary gift. I know he is who he is today because of the blessing of music. Music has played such an important role in his life. For that, I will forever be grateful. So this is a reflection. You reflect on what is happening and you reflect at the end of everything. Okay, so now in the reflection you understand that music has played an important role, and you reflect, you express your feeling. You are telling the reader that you are grateful for them, not for them, for the music. Okay, you are grateful for music because music has played an important role, providing the brother with something. That is why that I there, thanking the heaven and be grateful. And the word blessing is also a signal to show that this is something at the end of a situation you will come to understand, to believe that you want to be thankful. Okay, and the final one, number 5. Where is he now? I whispered. With a smile, refusing to meet the eyes, he said quietly before walking away, "Not here anymore." Can you imagine a smile? You smile here, but you don't smile here. What kind of smile is that? That is maybe an insincere smile. Okay, that is maybe a smile when you are sad. That is maybe a smile that you force yourself to. Okay, you are not actually happy. Not happy here, not happy here, only smiling to show or as a friendly front to someone there. And then not here anymore. The last or the final words for dialogue. Okay, your closure is a dialogue. So you have all the 5 different techniques of closure. You can choose whichever that you are most comfortable with, or you can choose whichever that is in line with your story. Okay, this is the most difficult part when you are writing, and when you are writing a story, make your story interesting. You must make sure it attracts the reader right from the first word up to the last full stop. Okay, one of the requirement in band A to score 44 to 50 marks would be interest level is sustained throughout the composition, meaning that if you are writing a story of, let's say, I don't know, 5 pages, from page 1 to page 5, everything should be interesting. Everything should be attracting the attention of your reader. Okay, making your reader sitting on the edge. Okay, making the reader heart pound. Thank you very much, Nisa Abdul Halim, for watching and for your support. By the way, Nisa, did you notice I use your name up there? Thank you, Madam Wan Norihan. I hope all the tips can help you and your students to score better grade for English 1119 and make Kuantan the first, as is our slogan for our PPD. Okay, now, how to make your story interesting? Varied sentence structures. You need to use different types of sentence structures. Okay, connection to all the 6 senses. Do we have 6? Or do we have 4? Or do we have 7 senses? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the last one. What is the last one? The last one, don't forget your heart. Okay, because you are human, you have your heart, unless you have been giving it away. Please don't. Okay, so you have feelings. So always connect whatever you are writing in your story to feelings, because it is very easy to relate. People who are reading have feelings, so your stories should have feelings as well. So that is what I meant by connection to all the 6 senses. And the last one would be showing details. Okay, do you understand what I'm trying to say here? Are all this making sense to you? Okay, this is a samples on varied sentence structures. While George busied himself with a storybook, my thought went back to Kelly, my beautiful Kelly, her dangerous mission, the hazard she was exposed to, and the number of people who wanted her dead. I buried all the bad thoughts with a shiver and concentrated on the road before me. Okay, so this is only an extract. You can see here there are different types of sentences. My beautiful Kelly. My beautiful Kelly. Okay, no verb there, but yet it helps to create the image in your brain, in your mind about Kelly. Okay, her dangerous mission, the hazard she was exposed to, and the number of people who wanted her dead. So this has a combination of so many things. You have conjunction there. Okay, you have you have noun and verbs and adjectives there. Okay, and then I buried all the bad thoughts with her shivers and concentrated on the road before this. So you have subject, you have verbs, and then you have different ideas in the same sentence. So here is a collections of different sentence structures you can use so that your story is not monotonous. Do you know what is monotonous? Monotonous would be very dry. Monotonous would be very boring. Monotonous would be, imagine the screen, the machine in an ICU where it monitors your heartbeat. It will go like one line only. That will be monotonous. You need to have ups and downs and up and up and up and down so that it will be better for your feelings, better for your mental state when you imagine the situation in the story. Okay, you can have simple, you can have compound, you can have complex, and you can have single word sentence. So all these can be combined and used appropriately. Okay, please don't use simple sentences all throughout or compound sentences throughout your essay, but you combine a mixture of everything to make it more interesting. It is like a well-loved rojak. You are familiar with rojak? Okay, our Malaysian culture, we love rojak because there are so many things in that, so many ingredients. That is why it is the same with your stories. Okay, so many things inside. The bell of the cafe rang as my fingers danced swiftly on the keyboard, pressing the alphabet faster than the speed of my mother's car. My eyes caught a slight glimpse of a tall man clad in black long-sleeved shirt and white jeans. I followed his steps to a table in a corner not far from me. I was distracted with the smell of strong black coffee as a waiter served me my order. So this is actually a sample of how you use all your senses in your story. So the bell, you can hear the bell, okay? So your hearing is triggered here. And then your eyes caught slight glimpse. So you see the tall man with the black long sleeve shirts and the white jeans. Okay, the black and the white would be a contrast, so it is easier for you to see. Okay, and then the smell of strong black coffee. Okay, usually coffee would have very strong smell, and I love the refreshing smell of coffee. So here you can also imagine the strong black coffee, the smell of it. And then fingers dance swiftly. Okay, because it is the sense of your touch pressing the alphabet because you were typing. And then the speed of my mother's car, that is applying to your funny feeling inside your heart. Okay, of all the seriousness, you compare your typing with your mother's car. Can you imagine the speed of your mother's car and the speed of the typing? So that is relating to your heart, how you feel. That would be very cute and funny and hilarious. So these are all connected to all the 6 senses. Next, I sensed a presence beside me, and I put my hand out on his arm out of habit as he led me to the coffee table next to a glass window. Outside, the wind was blowing rather strongly, as I could hear leaves slapping the window, and from the distance, the sound of curtains flapping was obvious. I ate the food in silence while listening to a story being played on the radio. What is this? Okay, so here there are so many details. The first verb, I sense a present, there is one detail, okay, as clue. Okay, next, I put my hand out on his arm. So putting hands out on his arm, another detail. Okay, next, another detail was about the wind blowing, about the leaf slapping the window, and then about curtain flapping. So these are all sounds, okay? And then the silence. So these are all details to suggest or to trigger your hearing and a story being played on the radio. So actually, you do not have the full story, but the main character here, the I was blind. So you don't straight away write, I was blind. That would be very harsh, right? That would be very crude. But you create all the details to let your reader be triggered a bit, to let your reader imagine all the details and come to a conclusion about that particular character without straightforwardly telling them that character was blind. So that is showing details, okay? Okay, finally we have come to the last slide. So if you have any question, you can post it now before I wrap my sharing for today. Okay? Thank you, Madam Wong Bibi. I hope you have benefited from this and you can use this one for your own lesson and with your own student. Thank you, Irfan, for watching. I hope you can also use this for your essay writing and score A+ for me. Okay, finally, this is your steps when you want to write your story. Again, I remind you, read the question carefully and then you underline specific requirements, okay, to make sure that you address all the requirements that needed. And also you can create or you outline your plot so that when you are writing, you know that where you are going and where to create your climax and where you have to stop. Okay, it's very simple steps. So if you want to try, this is my last note. Write a story on the theme what if. Do you know what is what if? What if is actually an expression to suggest possibility, things that could go differently, other things that can happen in a certain situation. And end your story with, I could feel myself letting go. So if you want to try, you can write this story and submit to your teacher so that you can see whether you have used all the tips that you have learned today. Okay, before I end today, yes, Aisha, thank you so much. Before I end today, I would also like to thank all my students because all the example that I've been using here in this sharing actually came from my students, past and present, okay, from their own writing their own essay and their composition. I still keep them so that I can use all the stories and composition for my current student to make full use of. Okay, with that, I end everything. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you will succeed in your SPM 2020, and don't forget, score A+ for English 1119 and bring glory home. Thank you so much.